And one of the reasons we're working on too many things is that it's much easier in most contexts to add a project than it is to stop a project.
Pattern we observed among the leaders who were most effective were the leaders that were both solving problems at an accelerated pace and really taking responsibility for the success and well-being of their shareholders and employees and customers. They were doing both at the same time.
And we have seen very many hard problems solved in a week.
Everyone needs to hear this message.
Welcome to Start With a Win, where we unpack leadership, personal growth and development, and how to build a better business. Let's go. Coming to you from Area 15 Ventures and Start With a Win headquarters, it's Adm Contos with Start With a Win. We're joined by two of the most powerful voices in leadership and business, Morriss and Frances Frei. They're best-selling authors, Harvard Business School faculty, world-renowned advisors, and the brains behind the Leadership Consortium and the TED podcast, Fixable. Their book, Move Fast and Fix Things, is a trusted leader's guide to solving hard problems, and it's already being called a masterpiece on trust, leadership, and business. You may recognize Anne as she's already been on Start With a Win, and Frances is joining today to talk about their book, so let's dive in. Welcome to Start With a Win, Frances and Anne. It's great to have you both on today. How are you?
Oh, we're great, Adam. I'm thrilled to be back and thrilled to introduce you to my wife, Frances.
Hi
Awesome.
there.
Hey, Frances, it's great to have you here. So we've obviously had Anne as a past guest on Start With a Win. We dug deep into leadership and the amazing book that you both have written, Move Fast and Fix Things. I love it. Frances, I want to start with you today because Harvard Business School professor, a great mind in leadership, and a huge part of this book. From your perspective, why did you write this book, and what do you think people should take from it?
Yeah, the main motivation was that a popular ethos was that if you were going to move fast, you had to break things.
Right.
So that there was a trade-off, and it gave speed a bad name, quite honestly. And so we saw some people feeling like it was okay to break things if I'm going fast. In fact, we see some of that in going on today on quite a grand scale. But even worse, I think, were the companies that cared so much about taking care, they went slowly. And that's a tragedy. We know that if you want to really take care, you need to do it with momentum. You need to move fast. And so we wanted to give speed its rightful reputation, which is it's an essential ingredient in making the world a better place. And it is not license to break things.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Well, and I want to get your perspective on this, because it seems like when we say move fast and break things, people get a little on edge sometimes, especially maybe somebody who's a little more conservative in their business leadership, boards of directors, things like that. Yeah. They're kind of like, what's your perspective on that? Why is it okay that we call it fix things instead of break things?
Yeah, well, as Frances said, it is the pattern that has been out there, and the assumption embedded in it is that you can either move fast, or protect the things you care about, including quality, including the needs of stakeholders, and this just didn't line up with our experience of the world. We work with lots of different kinds of organizations who are all taking some kind of big swing. Their ambition, they're not calling us in if the ambition is low.
Right.
Right. And so, and the pattern we observed among the leaders who were most effective in those environments were the leaders that were both solving problems at an accelerated pace and really taking responsibility for the success and well-being of their shareholders and employees and customers. They were doing both at the same time. And we wanted to get that message out there because there's a lot of confusion, particularly with this banner of move fast and break things that did define the innovation economy for a while. And we moved away from that. We're trying it out in some other sectors. Our perspective is not going so well.
Going so well.
But
and so a better way.
But there is a better way. There's a better way. And the evidence is overwhelming that you can do both at the same time.
Right. I love that philosophy. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, this started a lot in Silicon Valley. Is that correct? Like Facebook and things like that. Is it? I mean, Frances.
Yeah, it was pre-Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook just put it on company posters,
and
but it had been around
in
for a
their
while.
IPO prospectus, right? That's like where it really received worldwide attention. I think it was pre-Facebook, but it didn't normalize it, because when you have someone like Mark Zuckerberg saying we're going to move fast and break things, or other tech leaders, you think, oh goodness, I guess if you move fast, you have to break things. And we're really on a mission to help people realize those are uneducated and or ineffective leaders that think it is an aspiration to move fast and break things, and that you great leaders move fast and fix things.
Right. It's more of an opportunistic mindset, it seems, when we look at what can we fix by moving fast. And, the old adage, your first plan never survives the first contact with the enemy, and the enemy being a business challenge or leadership issues in most of these cases. So, Frances, you teach at Harvard Business School a lot of leadership and technology, and I do want to touch on the technology aspect a little bit during this pod, especially with moving fast and fixing things in AI, because that's obviously the key word of the day. But and I think it will be for quite some time. But how did you start getting introduced to this in higher education and the business school environment? And what were your first perspectives on that?
So I'm in the technology and operations department. So the operations part, it was always offensive to me that people told me that they were with some intentionality going to break things. Like it just didn't compute.
You don't want to invite them over, that's for sure.
No, and it was like those were the people that got the low grade, not the high grade.
Right.
And out in practice, they were not the people that thrived. But then we saw people getting funded at unbelievable rates when they said they were going to move fast and break things. Like it was almost a virtue, as opposed to what my deep roots tell me is that that's not at all a virtue. And so I think I came there out of protecting the operations of it all. Like I really care about sustained excellence. In my DNA, I care about winning and I care about sustained excellence. And I saw this virtue out there that was going to make things worse, and people weren't embarrassed about it. I wanted to bring shame to that and bring aspiration to the real solution.
That's incredible. And you threw the word trust at this really quickly when we spoke last time. Obviously, that's got to be a big part of this. How did that start playing into it? Because I mean, I'm not going to trust somebody who's going to keep breaking my stuff, but or wasting money that is our shareholder or stakeholders' money. When I look at it from a true leader's perspective, how did the trust start playing into that?
Yeah. So the second part of the pattern we observed is, yes, you can both build trust and speed, but the secret sauce is to sequence them. And so we want you to build trust first, at which point you earn the right to sprint. And so when we talk about our playbook and we have fun with it with Monday through Friday, really Monday through Thursday is not about going faster. It's about slowing down. It's actually about creating some good friction. Make sure you're solving the right problem. Make sure you have the right people around the table. Make sure, you're running smart experiments before you scale them. Make sure you're telling the right story so people know what the hell is going on. Then you get to sprint. And so when we pop the hood a little bit on, okay, how do we do both at the same time? The pattern that shows up is let's build trust first, and then we can run.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So they're not at odds.
And you brought up AI, Adam. It really, what's really interesting to us is that it's a huge opportunity to both go faster, and that's where most of the world's attention is right now, but also to build more trust. And when we get involved in the AI conversation, we're really trying to point people to the build trust part, because it's a huge opportunity there. We can, everything, back to our, playbook, everything we talk about, make sure you're solving the right problem, right? There's a huge AI opportunity there to actually get to the heart of the issue faster.
That's amazing, Frances. I mean, what does that trust concept mean to you? It seemed I've heard you both repeatedly say these aren't at odds with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sequential.
Yeah. And the way I would frame it is that trust is foundational.
Okay.
And you build other things on top of the foundation. You can't build the house and then go to the foundation. So trust is not something that can be postponed and we'll fix it later. Doesn't work. You have to do it first. And if there is a breakdown in trust, you have to address it immediately. Now, what's fortunate is that the myths about trust that are out there don't hold. One of which is that it takes a long time to build. Not if you know how it's constructed, it doesn't. So we have to do it first. But in our cheeky Monday to Friday, suggesting that hard problems can be solved in a week, and we have seen very many hard problems solved in a week. And if you're taking a year, we think you are just way taking too much time. So a week is a useful metaphor, but you can't go fast until Friday. And to give you a perspective of trust, it's a Tuesday thing. The only thing that comes before trust is make sure you're solving the right problem.
Okay.
Because we get enamored in the symptoms. We get seduced by the symptoms, but it's an infinite game to address symptoms.
You two are the perpetual GSD people. Get stuff done. I love this. And in your book, I love the playbook part of it, that Monday through Friday that you've mentioned, and you brought that up a moment ago also. So let's dig into this Monday through Friday, because we do have a lot of action-oriented people on the podcast. They want a GSD, and by Friday, I mean, I'd like to have a weekend where I'm like, whoa, I got some good stuff done this week. And foundationally, obviously, it starts with leadership and the alignment around the organization through that. But you mentioned solve the right problem, Frances. Take me through that real quick. Let's dig into this week. I think you guys had to pump the brakes with your publisher because you guys wanted to do things like hour by hour or something.
We really did. We had it 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and they were like, nobody wants to read this. This only is appealing to you two. And I think our publisher did a very, very helpful intervention.
Well, for the record, I would have fallen into the hour by hour piece. So I'll be the third person there.
I know, you and 4 other readers. So I think it was a commercial intervention.
There we go. But I'll take the weekly thing. I mean, that's how my calendar is blocked out, is what am I doing the next 5 minutes?
So Monday, when we think about solving the real problem, there are some fundamentals it goes back to. From my operations perspective, I always think of like the classic operating systems and the Toyota production system. If anyone is an old school operations thinker, this was the first world famous operating system that even though they had the exact same ingredients as every other auto manufacturer, they were, 10x more effective. And I love 10x. And when we went and looked at why are they 10x more effective? One of the reasons was what they called the 5 whys. And the 5 whys was what the rest of us loosely think of as root cause analysis. But whenever you see a problem, please don't solve it, even though you want to, because it will never be satiated. And so ask, why does this problem exist? And don't solve that either. And ask, why does that exist? And don't solve that either. And the 5 whys is that in the auto manufacturing context, they found that it typically took 5 whys before you should start solving what is much closer to the root of the problem. Now, in practice, we find that things are typically not as complicated than that. But my goodness, if you are solving the symptom or 1 or 2 whys, you're probably doing it prematurely. So it's not as catchy, but the 3 whys is probably for the rest of us. Is doing there. So I think that's a very big part of it. Now, when you ask, why does this exist it's not like things you can drop on your foot, right? And that's the benefit of an auto manufacturing environment, but it's more in the leadership realm. It's more in the interaction realm. oh, you're going to come across some sensitive topics.
Hmm.
And this is where it is really important, in the words of the great organizational theorist Chris Argyris, you need to learn to discuss the undiscussable. And I promise you, if it's a problem of any kind of magnitude that's worthy of your time and attention, there will be an undiscussable. And having the courage to discuss it. Here's the catch. You don't even have to be very skilled at discussing it, but you have to have the courage to discuss it. You are almost certainly going to find an undiscussable on your journey to the 3 to 5 whys. And we need to discuss it, or else you'll veer off. And if you're solving the wrong problem, it really doesn't matter what else you do.
Wow. Have the courage to discuss the undiscussable.
There it is.
Thank you for that, Chris Argyris.
Yes.
Yeah. If there's one thing your listeners take away from this conversation, it's that headline as a way to unlock performance. The research is overwhelming, and Argyris really got it started. But teams that not only tolerate conflict, but lean into it, get curious about it, make it discussable, it can reach orders of magnitude more impact than other teams, even with the same level of talent in the room.
Amazing. I love this. I mean, we're starting a week strong here, folks, with Monday.
I know.
I love it. All right. So grab your cup of coffee. We're headed on to Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you talked about trust. Take us into this.
Tuesday, Tuesday morning, you're waking up with what we call Tuesday morning confidence, because you're solving the right problem and you're starting to build some momentum. So what we want you to do on Tuesday is come up with a good enough plan to solve the problem. This is distinct from a perfect plan, which we have never seen out in the wild. We want you to get into the organizational sandbox, give yourself permission to play. We look at problems through the lens of trust. We think it's a very powerful lens. So we advise people to start there, but you don't have to stop there. We really just want you to be trying on Tuesday. But if you are going to use trust, and we recommend it, again, you got to pop the hood. And so trust is driven by, it's an output of a combination of logic, authenticity, and empathy. And we want you to look at your problem through that lens. There is we like to make it personal problems, right? There is a stakeholder in pain at the center of your problem. Even if you have a culture problem, or like, really get in touch with who's in pain at the center of the problem. Bring in this trust lens. It's not that trust collapse all at once, that these pillars, all get wobbly at the same time. It's typically just one. And so figure out, is it authenticity, logic, or empathy, and then come up with a draft plan to steady that wobble.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example just to bring this to life. We did a lot of work with Uber back in the day. Frances led that and can field any questions. I was cheering her on from the sidelines. But Uber was wobbling on empathy, in our language, wobbling on empathy with many of its stakeholders.
All.
You could probably round it off to all. But, drivers were having trouble making a living wage. Riders were afraid of drivers. Drivers were afraid of riders. And so in that period, the organization just ran a bunch of experiments about how to bring empathy into those relationships. Adding tipping to the app was a game-changing for drivers at the time in terms of the economics of taking that gig. They added a whole bunch of safety features for both riders and drivers, that everyone felt comfortable, getting into this, tiny little car with a stranger. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about experimentation. We're talking about trying things. And at the end of the day, on Tuesday, you're going to be a whole lot smarter than when you started.
It seems like you need a pretty strong culture by the time you're deep into Tuesday. I mean, this is the formation for a lot of that, doesn't it?
Yeah, sometimes culture is the problem you're solving, though, Adam.
Yeah.
And so I would say that independent of the problem, this is the playbook for the solution.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we're really stretching our leadership muscles right now. I mean, clearly.
Yeah, the culture we care about by Tuesday is that you are taking action.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That you are in motion in response to a problem, which typically introduces a whole bunch of relief into the system.
Okay.
People know these problems exist. It's not lost on anyone that these problems exist. But what you're doing by Tuesday is you're in motion and taking action.
Okay.
And I think
that's a huge cultural add.
The pace point that Anne is making is really essential. You know, if you've ever been in an organization that did an employee engagement survey, and they get back to you 3 months later with the results, why was it not 3 hours later? Like, why was it 3 months later? And then they tell you what their plan is. It's been 3 months and you haven't solved everything and you're coming to take the victory lap. Like, pace matters. You will be forgiven so much if you do it with pace. And that pace of 3 months, literally, that pace should go from months to hours.
The employee engagement is such a good example. So usually nothing happens between like when you take the first time you take the survey and then a year later when you take the survey again. You have the same answers.
Yep.
You are identifying the same problem. So at minimum, 3 months is, that's a stretch goal. At minimum, you got to beat that year marker because you're sending out the same fucking survey.
It's so true. And they're digital, for crying out loud. It's not like you're manually computing these things. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, right now with AI, you can complete the employee survey.
Hours. I literally think the analysis is done in hours, and your plan for many of these things, I don't even think it would take a week to solve, but let's say you're going to take an entire week. Okay. But that is not the metabolic rate of almost every organization. And you know what? It's accepted practice.
Right.
It boggles my mind. But the solution isn't to come in and move fast and break things, which is the license that some people want to take. We want you to move fast and fix things along the way. And you will get, in your wake, you will get so much credit and you will create such a positive externality.
Well, we're going to move slow and we're going to create committees about things.
Definitely create a committee.
Oh, we could just have a whole free form on committees.
Committee with no decision rights.
No decision rights, but a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have some
a lot
meetings.
of meetings.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Wednesday. Frances, take us into Wednesday here.
Yeah. So if we end Tuesday with a good enough plan, we're going to end Wednesday with an even better plan. And here's how we can guarantee whatever plan you have will get better, which is talk to people who you haven't already spoken to. So whatever you did on Tuesday, you probably did it with the usual suspects, which is your go-to people that you use in either your organizational structure or the people you use to solve problems. And it's great. We want you to do that on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we want you to look around the table and say, whose voice is not represented here? And let's invite them into the room. My classic example of this is that at the Harvard Business School, senior faculty get together every single year and talk about the woes of junior faculty. And we repeat, just like we were just mocking, we repeat these woes. I've been at this school for 27 years. We repeat these woes every year and we seemingly make no progress. Well, we have a Wednesday problem because we never talk to the junior faculty about the problems.
No junior faculty are in that meeting.
No. We get into a room that we call the big room. I'm not making it up. And only senior faculty are there. And that's where we talk about junior faculty, and it's Groundhog Day. So we have a Wednesday problem. So many organizations have a Wednesday problem. And so the metaphor we have is bring empty chairs to the table, point to them and say, whose voice is not represented here? Who has a stake in this conversation? Invite them into the conversation. That's like the first half of Wednesday. Guaranteed to make things better if and only if you convince them to give their unique perspective, not their perspective that's in common with you. And if the Harvard Business School senior faculty invite junior faculty, what they're going to try to do is impersonate senior faculty. So they're just going to say what they think we want to hear. So you have to overcome that by not celebrating what's in common. It's by celebrating what's uncommon. I want to bring your different perspective, but then I have to convince you I want your different perspective because everything you're going to believe that you're going to get Scooby snacks from us if you say things that we already agree with. Don't want you to say those. And so that's what Wednesday is. Bring new people to the table and set the conditions that we cherish their unique perspectives. Guaranteed, I don't care what your problem was. I don't care what you had at the end of Tuesday. Guaranteed at the end of Wednesday, you will have an even better plan.
I love that. So many people enter that room thinking it's a popularity contest. And
or that it's consensus, or that or that we're going to look for common ground. Scarcely, I can think of very few things that have done more damage than consensus and common ground.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about blind spots.
Or that it's gratuitous, or that it's political. Like, we're talking about being more effective at solving problems.
I love that.
And solving problems quickly. Like that is the value of opening up that room. You know, another example that we see all the time is like social media. Totally missed the boat on child safety, in part because very few decisions were made with people who had children around the table. You know, so these are when there are very serious consequences to getting Wednesday wrong.
I mean, once you have this lens, you'll just walk around and you'll be like, how did they come up with, oh, it was a Wednesday problem? Yeah. Like, how could you, oh, right, because you only had these sorts of people around the table. Of course, that's what you thought. Of course.
We get to be a little crazy.
And we really like people who are really like us.
We
and
really
so
do like them.
Our mantra for Wednesday is make new friends.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love this Wednesday problem. I mean, we're recording this on a Thursday, so we're hopefully we made the Wednesday problem work this week. But talk to people you haven't talked to yet. I love that concept.
Who have a stake in
the problem,
and convince them that you want their unique insights. Okay. And it will take convincing, because I promise you, the first words they say, without you knowing it, are going to be trying to be like you, are going to be to try to mimic you.
Yep. Amazing. All right. Anne, let's talk Thursday.
Are we at Thursday?
We're at Thursday.
Thursday's storytelling day, Adam.
All right.
And for the simple reason that we have to work with our human biology here, we're now telling people about the plan. By the end of Wednesday, we have a plan that we feel really good about. And now we got to tell people about it so they know what to do, not only in our presence, but also in our absence. Right? We want to influence behavior at scale. As human beings, we think in metaphor and learn through stories. It is literally embedded in our DNA. And so we really want you to work with that reality when you are out there telling people now what you want them to do differently. As we're solving problems, we're taking new actions. So there's a structure to effective change storytelling. We want to honor the past. We want to create a compelling change mandate, a very strong why to behave differently. And then we want to describe a rigorous and optimistic future. We want to describe the future in vivid detail and make it clear how everyone in the system is going to benefit.
And to do that well, you can imagine, please don't share your first draft. Nor your second. Nor your third. And so 8 to 9, draft 1, 9 to 10, draft 2. And this is a 10-hour day. Like, I think we share things like at draft 1.5, when we should be sharing things at draft 10 to 15. Great writers, I have learned, and I'm not one, they revise so much more than people like me do. And it is that revision. It's the great quote of, I apologize for sending a long letter. I didn't have time to write a short letter. This is a really crucial part to layer on top of Thursday.
You're getting closer if the message is getting shorter.
Yes.
And so we love the example of T-Mobile's Uncarrier campaign, because they reduced the entire story to a single word that they essentially made up, which is, we're going to be everything this industry is not. You know, it was introduced at a moment in time when the thing that united us as an American people was how much we hated our cell phone providers. And so they saw this open space on the chessboard and they went for it. They came up with this beautiful campaign. We experienced it as an external campaign, but the power of it was that internally, everyone got it. And because the employee handbook, the strategic plan only goes so far in terms of telling you what to do. We have to understand it in a way that I can make a decision that is on plan, on mission, on strategy in the absence of someone telling me what to do. And that's going to require a very compelling story.
So we have a you know it when you see it test, Adam. And it is, if I tell the story to Anne when I've understood it deeply and can describe it simply, I tell it to Anne, Anne tells it to you, Adam. Do you, Adam, understand it as if I said it to you directly?
Oh, good question.
And now here's the real test. You're going to go home, Adam, and describe it to a loved one at home. Do they understand it as if I did it directly? That's when you're done. So understood in our absence by their family.
Okay.
The only way that works is if I have to understand it so deeply. So T-Mobile didn't start with a word. They started with a huge, rich campaign, and they revised. So they understand it deeply so that we can describe simply, so that it's understood in our absence by their family. That's what you're doing on Thursday. Takes all day.
I love this. We need to talk more about this in higher education, I think. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Somebody in higher education here, you all are in higher education, for crying out loud, or to boards of directors, things like that.
Everyone needs to hear this message.
Absolutely.
Leaders are teachers. And I actually think this message needs to be internalized by all of us.
Right. I agree. There's something to be said about, clear simplicity.
And we give each other false credit. Like if you take the finance shop in any organization and they speak with a lot of acronyms and a lot of numbers, and we somehow give them prestige for being inaccessible and complicated. Again, I want to bring shame to inaccessible and complicated. I want to reserve the greatest praise to simplicity on the other side of the complexity. I don't want shallow simplicity. So we have to understand deeply and describe simply, but it's that same false credit that we're giving. So much of Move Fast and Fix Things is just reassociating who the heroes are, attributing who the heroes are.
I love this. It's so funny. And I have to give a shout out to my wife, Kelly. When I bring a problem home to her, a solution or some strategy or something like that, she always looks at me at the end of it and she goes, clarity is kindness.
It is. It's so kind. It's a wonderful.
It's a beautiful mantra. Yeah. Clear is kind.
Which means, Adam, go try again.
But try again, honey.
And
that was adorable.
I bet you go try again.
Exactly. All
right. The other communication, I'll just say one more thing in case it's helpful to your listeners. The other communication challenge we see is that people count themselves out. They give the long version. It doesn't land. And they decide that they're not good messengers, that, public speaking isn't my strength, or this is a learning by doing sport. You look at the best comedians in the world, they would never dare get up on a stage where there were serious stakes without workshopping it in small rooms, sometimes dozens of times. And then we expect as leaders to be able to get up there and do it the first time. And if we can, and we count ourselves out, we decide, we're not good at this. No, this is all about practice.
Every one of us can be a good enough communicator. You don't have license to call yourself a bad communicator to not do Thursday.
I love that.
It is simply about the repetition. You have to go and listen. You don't have to go to Cleveland and Akron and all the small cities. We get to do it now remotely. Thank goodness.
There we go. And we can test it on AI as well.
You can test it in so many places.
Going back there.
Put a virtual audience up there to beat you up.
Ask AI to critique you as if you're in Akron, and then ask it to critique you as if you're somewhere else. Do it.
I love that. All right, Frances, take us home. Friday.
So Friday's my favorite day because now we finally get to go fast because we've earned the right. And there are and so we give a whole host of speed accelerants of how to go fast. I'll just tell you a couple of them. The main one is that we usually go slowly when we have hoarded decision rights. So when we look at why things are slow, it's because we're waiting for approvals. We have to go and run it up the flagpole. We have to, they're not meeting till 3 weeks from Friday. All of this. So empowering other people to remove yourself from the bottleneck of decision rights is really important. Having said that, I can't give you decision rights if I don't develop you in order to be able to honor the decision rights. So empowerment really has an implicit developmental undertone. Make sure you have fewer decision rights tomorrow than you do today as a result of the development you're doing on your team. And if you haven't been able to delegate, means that you have been ineffective at development. And so that's one of my problems that I would then go and work on. So I think that's remove the decisions as a bottleneck. That will be, it's part of every speeding up process, is someone somewhere is slowing things down. And so that's what I would say is the first one. The second one is that we need radical prioritization on Friday. My goodness. We are working on too many things. And one of the reasons we're working on too many things is that it's much easier in most contexts to add a project than it is to stop a project. Well, the net result of that is that when I'm working on something, I'm in line behind all of the projects. And so if you don't take some of those projects away, it will necessarily take me a long time to finish this one. So sometimes the greatest way I can accelerate my project is for you to take the work in process, which is what an operations term, but take the WIP, the work in process, out of the system using radical prioritization. We become lazy and not rigorous in our thinking by saying, oh, all ideas are a good idea. Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's add that. And I want people to feel when you add something, unless people were super underutilized and we just had all of this excess capacity, tell me that what you are taking away that's at least as much as that. When you bring that level of rigor in, that's going to help things go really fast, because we're unintentionally gunking up the works with really well-intentioned things. But when we go into an organization, we're like, well, let's just look at the projects and look, what capacity do these projects mandate? And then what capacity do you have? It's sometimes off by 5x.
Wow.
This isn't a small problem. This is a big problem. So those are two of my favorite speed accelerants. And I could go on and on. I'll do a third, just super quick.
Okay.
I mean, since you insist, Adm.
Since you insist, Adm,
yes, please.
Let's say you have something that's a high priority project. You want to take a lesson from what Stripe has done. And Stripe is a really well-managed company, really, really beautifully organized. They have what they call ambulance projects, which is you get to stick the red light on top of it and it goes through. I think it's really important to have fast track projects that get to go into the high occupancy vehicle lane, that get to put the ambulance sign on it. You want to plan for those. We already want to have a vernacular in place so that we can then just say, this is one that gets that gets to be sped up. So you have to have a vehicle for ambulance project.
Yeah, I think Etsy actually gets credit for the ambulances. But at Stripe, they have a name for these. For these projects too. That you get to speed ahead to get the resources and attention you need.
I can't imagine how many times Etsy doesn't get the full credit it deserves.
Right.
I think.
I love Etsy.
I apologize, Etsy. I apologize.
Everybody check out Etsy.
I'm sure that's directionally right.
Etsy. Yes. I buy from Etsy. Etsy's awesome.
Awesome.
My favorite hat has come from Etsy.
There you go. Good little gifts from Etsy. This has been amazing. Everybody, make sure you check out Anne and Frances at AnneandFrances.com. That's ANNEANDFRANCES.com. They do some amazing work for some incredible companies, everything from advisory work, coaching, speaking. Check out their Fixable podcast. It's a TED podcast, as well as the books that they've written, particularly Move Fast and Fix Things. You can find it where all the best business books are. Please make sure you check them out, as well as the Leadership Consortium, an amazing organization to help build better leaders. So, Anne and Frances, I have a question I ask all of our incredible leaders on Start With a Win. Frances, we'll start with you today. How do you start your day with a win?
Oh, very simple. Put all the dogs in the car, go to the beach.
Love that.
It does not matter what yesterday was like or what today is going to be like. If I start on the beach with the sheer joy and unconditional love of the dogs and the wide open expanse of the water, it is a win.
I love that. That's amazing. Anne, your turn.
Yeah, Adam, for me, it definitely starts the night before. One thing I've learned in my old age, I was better about this in my 20s, but as I've gotten older, I have discovered that I really need a practice of coming out of, fight or flight mode, like really ratcheting down my nervous system the night before. And so for me, that has been an evening yoga practice that I'm quite committed to. It doesn't take that long, 20 or 30 minutes, but then it sets me up to actually sleep, which sets me up for the next day.
That's fantastic. I mean, you guys have bookended the perfect day here. So I love it.
And then I jump in the car and with Frances and go to the beach with the dogs on a good day.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for both of you being on the podcast today. Thanks for all you're doing to help improve these businesses, for all the stakeholders, for that matter, everybody from the shareholders down to the customers and everybody in between. All of this matters so much in building great companies for great people. And thanks for starting your day with a win. I appreciate seeing you both today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. We're big fans.
We're big fans and thrilled to be here.